lost 80 pounds in 1 year, and this is how I did it. I always felt like a little bit of a chubster as a child. I don't know if it was just based off my friends or like, there's this perfect mental image I had of myself that I wasn't living up to, but I always felt overweight. So through the process of getting ready for this video, I've went through all my childhood photos, and I can tell you now, I wasn't actually really that overweight, but I felt that way. Like many people, I was my skinniest in high school, where I was around 160, 170, and that was when I felt the best before the intentional weight loss, but I still didn't feel all that good. One of the big things I really want to get across is that before my intentional weight loss journey, weight would just kind of come and go because there was no intentionality with my activity or what I was eating. So I had no real way to control what my weight was, so I thought. And because there was no guiding light for me to follow on what I should be doing health-wise, it was like, yeah, I can eat Polo Loco 3 times a week. So once I went to college and had complete control over my diet, the weight did start to creep up. But the big weight gain really happened when I started working at a certain Domino-themed pizza restaurant. One of the biggest benefits that you got for working at this place was that you were allowed to eat just unlimited pizza to your heart's desire. And I began eating an entire large pizza every single day for lunch. Notice, I said for lunch. That doesn't include breakfast or dinner, both of which still happened, and I wasn't eating, like kale and broccoli for those either. The defining memory that I have for that weight gain period was at the end of this season of like working for them. I remember I had bought these work pants I used to mow in, and whenever I bought them, they were like comically oversized because that's just the way I like my work pants to fit. But by the end, I literally couldn't buckle them because I had gained so much weight. So and after this period of a couple of months where like I gained 30 or 40 pounds, I got a new job, and I must have had some kind of idea that like, maybe it's not a good idea to, eat a large meat lovers every day for lunch. So I began packing my meals. I was usually eating like a lot of chicken and rice, but even though I thought I was eating healthy stuff, I did not lose any weight during this period, which, at that point in time was not a surprise because I thought that I didn't have any way to control my weight. So and after the bank job, I got another job at an office, and I was still continuing on the same path that I had been on. I'm eating what I think is healthy food, and I also began running on an elliptical at that point in time, like a minimum of 30 minutes to like an hour every day. And once again, same thing, I'm still losing no weight. And when you think that you're doing something healthy and you're still not seeing, any results that you can see, it is completely demoralizing. So it was right around this point in time that I took these photos, and I just want to get something across. These photos are a leap of faith. I had no idea what I was going to do. I had no idea how to lose weight or how to exercise or anything at this point in time. But I had enough of a sense that like I had to figure this out some way, that I forced myself to take these photos, and I'm so glad that I did. Because right after this, my life began to completely change. I decided to go full in researching the science of weight loss. And one of the things that consistently kept coming up was calorie tracking. Now, I had tried that back in college and it didn't work, but I was like, well, I didn't really try it that hard. And I was like, okay, let's just go full in and see what happens. And so partially just to say, I've tried this, it didn't work, I can give up, I decided to do 2 things. Number 1, count every single thing that I ate during a day. No matter how big or how little it was, I was going to track it. And 2, weigh myself every single morning without exception. And whenever I first stepped onto that scale the first time, the weight that came up was 220 pounds, which put me well into the obese category for my height. But I had my mission, and so I began my journey. And I'm just gonna be completely honest, I was absolutely terrible at this whenever I first started. I had no idea what I was doing. I would just look at something and be like, I think that's 4 ounces, and had like no idea what 4 ounces could possibly look like. But I noticed that even at this terrible stage, I still began thinking about the calories in food in this completely different way. Because you're like, well, I've got 400 calories left for the day, And like this Little Debbie cake is not worth, the 300 of them. You also begin to realize that there are some foods that are just like immensely calorie dense, like peanut butter. Like I could eat like a quarter of a jug of that stuff. Don't even think about it with some graham crackers. And like now I'm looking at it and it's like, oh, that was like 1,000 calories. But despite how terrible I was at this process in the beginning, to my surprise, the number on the scale started to go down. And it was like 1 or 2 pounds a week for the entire process. I just want to say that. Like these ads that you see, like, I lost 20 pounds in 1 week. That doesn't happen. That's not like a realistic thing. It was also kind of weird because, at least for me, for the first couple of months, no one else that I wasn't directly telling this about ever really noticed the weight loss. Because like 5 or 10 pounds isn't necessarily going to make that much of a visual difference. But I kept like just chugging on. And after like 3 or 4 months, it finally happened. And I stepped on the scale and I was 199 pounds. This was the first time that I had stepped on a scale and the number didn't start with a 2 in so long I literally couldn't remember. And it was also around this point in time that people began to notice that I was losing weight. It started to feel pretty good. It was honestly one of the best moments of my entire process was those first 20 pounds, because I knew something was changing and I had control over it. And something that I accidentally did very well about this was I continuously kept updating my calorie counts and my goals, because that's something that a lot of people can get caught up on, is that they'll lose down to a certain weight, and then once that's there, they'll stop losing weight because you are at maintenance level. I kept lowering mine, so I continuously kept losing weight. So now I told you what I've done right. I'm also going to tell you kind of what I did wrong. I would religiously stick to the plan during the weekdays. 5 days a week, absolutely would not go over that calorie count. But on the weekend, I would go so overboard on the weekends, I massively sabotaged myself to the point of I wasn't even really enjoying it. I had to do this because I felt like I had to, whatever. But I continued the process, and week after week, I kept losing weight. I had to buy my wardrobe over 3 times during the process because, I lost 80 pounds. That's like a small child worth of fat. Once again, this is a condensed story because it has to be, but I continued the process, and eventually I stepped on the scale and it came up 139 pounds, which is skinnier than I had ever been in my entire life. It was also at this point in time I was like, I think I'm here. I think that this is good enough. I actually gained a little bit of weight after that because I was it was a little bit too skinny. And this is what's so crazy, to go from the person who always felt I'm a little bit chubby to now I'm walking in and I'm the skinniest person in this building, So with that being said, let me give you some actionable advice that I learned from my process of losing 80 pounds. Number 1, track your calories. The only way that you can lose weight is that you are in a caloric deficit. You have to be consuming less calories than you are expelling. It is the law of thermodynamics. No one is happy about this, but it is the law. Number 2, track everything all the time. One of the biggest mistakes that I made during my process was going completely overboard on the weekend. If I had just reined it in a little bit, I could have lost so much more weight quickly, or even just in a more pleasing manner, so where I'm not starving during the week and then just feeling completely bloated on the weekends. If I had just, been tracking this, I would have been able to see this and would have came to a much more natural and, healthy conclusion on that. Number 3, exercise does next to nothing in terms of weight loss. Exercise is one of the most important things that you need to do. You need to do this because it is just that good for your health. It does not really make that much of a difference in terms of weight loss. It helps, but only in the most marginal sense. It's almost like a rounding error. It's what it feels like. Number 4, use some kind of calorie estimation app to get an idea of what you should be eating to lose weight. There's many of them on the internet. Once again, there's MyFitnessPal, which is what I use. But this will give you an idea of what number you should shoot towards to lose weight. Number 5, be patient. Weight loss is a very slow and methodical process. That's a good thing, because you actually really don't want to lose that much weight that quickly, because it's a big shock for the body. Number 6, understand that your weight is a representation of your lifestyle. You have to completely change your life if you want to completely change your weight and it stay that way. Anything else is self-defeating. Just know it is possible to lose weight. You really can do it. You have to change your life, but you're changing it for the better. But with that being said, if you like this video, make sure to subscribe for more self-improvement content.